Bishop Head, my sisters and brothers in Christ, may the Lord give you his peace. I suppose that most of you are somewhat aware of the life of St. Francis. That over and over again, you have heard the various stories and tales about Francis as he roamed through Assisi, preaching the gospel, sharing the good news. But if you have perused the life of St. Francis, you must have been suspicious at one time or another that the friars who surrounded him were a bunch of gossipers. How else would you explain all of the tales of Francis that have been handed down to us? You might particularly suspect that Leo, the great follower of Francis and his constant companion, kept running home to tell the other friars, "You'll never believe what I heard, what I saw today." Or on other occasions, you might have been doubtful. It might have occurred to you that maybe the friars made all of this up. After all, how do you explain that the intimate experiences of God were known by all of the brothers and sisters, and yet they were known? Perhaps on occasion, the friars were known to gossip. Perhaps now and again, Leo could not hold it in, but had to tell some of the brothers. Oh, perhaps, too, some of the friars embellished the tale. After all, it is an Italian trait. An Italian never tells the facts. The facts are only the beginning of the story. What is more important is what surrounds the facts, what we make up in our own hearts and in our own minds. So sure, on occasion, we can doubt. But it is St. Bonaventure who gives us the key to understanding how we came to know all of the intimate experiences of Francis of Assisi. In the major life of St. Francis, St. Bonaventure uses a phrase that he repeats over and over again. And it is a simple phrase: as he later told the brethren. As he later told the brethren. For me, that conjures up a Franciscan Emmaus experience. That we can easily see Francis as he wandered the hills of Assisi, as he settled in the Carceri, as he went up to Laverna, as he went down to San Damiano, talking to the brothers and the sisters and saying to them, "This is what the Lord has done for me. This is what has happened in my life. This is how I have come to recognize the Lord." It would be wonderful if you and I could say we had the same experiences that Francis had. But I would suggest to you that indeed we do have the experience of God. But the difference between Francis and you and me is that we do not recognize the presence of God in our own midst. That is not unusual. That is constantly the Easter message. Remember the gospel that was proclaimed on Easter morning. When Jesus goes into the garden and Mary is there and she is weeping as she is seeking her master. And she looks at this man, and the gospel says she did not recognize him. My God, that is an impossibility, isn't it? She loved this man. She listened to him. She washed his feet. She did not recognize him until Jesus said, "Mary." He called her by name, and she says, "Rabboni." She then recognizes the Lord in an act of faith. And if you listen carefully to the gospel that we have just heard, that theme of recognition is there over and over again. Here are two disciples. They had all their hope in Jesus. They were dismayed, discouraged. They had lost all hope as they walked along and they talked of how things could have been. Jesus comes into their midst. He tells them everything that they should already have known, but they did not recognize him. And it was not until the moment of the breaking of the bread that suddenly they recognized the presence of Jesus in their lives. Isn't our problem exactly the same? That in our everyday lives, in our everyday worlds, we have the experience of Jesus, but we do not recognize it. Therefore, we need places to go where we can come to recognize the presence of God. Places that are apart from our everyday world and the daily realities that settle in upon us and take away that art of recognition. Such a place is Mount Irenaeus.